Today we're unboxing the Canyon Spectral on CF8, which is a pretty crazy name and an even crazier bike. This is a $6,000 full suspension e-bike, which is pretty incredible, honestly. Let's get into it. Opening this thing up, they've got a lot of these little tags that you gotta pull out, so make sure you use the right clippers. I don't know what I was doing to start. But once you get the right stuff, they come off real easy. What does not come out easily are these plugs. In theory, you should just be able to twist them and pull them out, but that is not what happened for me. I had to use pliers. I don't know if I'm weak or if they just did a really good job packaging it, because it is secure. Even with the pliers, you'll see on this one, it just snaps. I swear I was doing it right. I read the instructions for this part, I promise. Anyways though, we got all of them out, and now we can open up the box. Inside there's a little welcome to the community drawing. I thought it was cool. And then 2 boxes and a lot more drawings telling you how to open the box. What they really needed though, instead of the drawings on how to open it, is just some handles. Like, they add the little plugs so you can pull your fingers in to pull it out, but there's no handle. There's nothing to grip onto while pulling this box out. Eventually though, I got it, and inside they give you a nice little bag. I really don't know what the bag is for, but it's a nice gesture. And then you get a shock pump, 2 manuals, some assembly paste and a torque wrench, and then these pedals. Please don't use these pedals, they're like plastic and junky. I'll get into it later. And then they gave us another bag with some goodies in it and more manuals. On the other side, there's another box, and in it is another box and a manual, which is massive.
That's a thick manual.
Yeah, it's massive. I didn't read the whole thing, but in the other box, they've got this outlet where you can just plug your bike into it, and it just goes to a standard wall outlet. Anyways, let's get into the actual unboxing now. On this side, there's a little tire. One of the tires is already attached. One of the wheels? Is it wheel or tire? One of the wheels or tires is already attached to the bike, but the other one is not. And so you got to do that yourself. They come with a protective cap that you saw just fall off. Be a little careful with that. I'll get into that later. Anyways, before we go into the putting things together, you got to pull all this junk off of it. They wrapped this thing like crazy. If you're worried about your bike getting scratched, do not fear. It is going to be safe. We moved on to putting the handlebars on first. Put some paste on it. Put the screws in. And when you're doing this, you want to hand tighten them first and make sure your handlebars are in place how you want it. And then once they're hand tightened, then you can move on to putting it to the correct torque setting. I put it at 9 Newton meters. I think that's what it asked for. And once you get all 4 of them in, you're set. Now you just got to move on and go into that little goodie bag they gave you. And there should be like this little toothpick looking thing. And this is used to plug the wire for the computer in. It looks complicated, but really it's super easy. It's just one wire, you plug it in, you're good to go. They made it pretty dummy proof. With the computer in, we moved on to the other side of the handlebars where we're putting in the dropper lever. It's pretty straightforward, it's just on the underside. And you just screw it in, make sure it's at the right torque setting, and you're good to go.
There we go.
With the handlebar set up, we moved on to putting in the pedals. These pedals are garbage, I told you earlier, but like really just don't use them. We're just putting it in for the sake of the video. I had them replaced within the day. But on the right side, you righty-tighty. On the left side, you lefty-loosey. It's not that complicated, but I know, I managed to mess it up a little bit, so I'm just telling you now. Anyways, once the pedals are put in, let's finish this dropper post. You want to pull the lever and pop your dropper post all the way up, and then you can loosen it. And while you're setting it to the correct height, you need to feed the wire through so it has enough slack to go up and down. And then once it's set up, you just tighten it back on, and your dropper post is already set up. It's pretty simple. With that set up, we move on to the front of the bike, and we're almost done here. Now you just got to put the tire on. They have a lot of protective tape and cardboard covering this thing. And then even you can see in the brakes, they got these rubber bands holding this plastic thing in. And that just protects the self-adjusting brakes from clamping themselves shut. So they did a good job there. The protective cap over here, you see me pulling that out? That actually pulled the metal bearing cap out too. So be careful when you're pulling this out. Yeah, you see that? I just put it back in. It wasn't a huge deal. You just got to be aware of it before you put your tire in, or your wheel. I don't know if it's tire or wheel. Alright, you can hear the elevator music starting, which means the bike is almost finished and it's almost time for the final reveal. All I had to do was go through and make sure the suspension was set up. They have a little chart telling you how much pressure to put in it. And you gotta like pump the suspension to make sure it's all, I don't know how it works. Anyways, we plugged it in and the bike is charged and it's time for the final reveal. If you have any questions, put it in the comments. I'll make sure to answer it. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.